If you're not looking for a popular but broken AAA game, then here are 10 of the best indie games to platinum, including a few bonus ones and my personal favorites at the end. And technically speaking, Death Stranding is also an indie game, but for obvious reasons we'll keep those sort of games to the side and only focus on the smaller titles. So starting us off, we have Road 96. This is a story-driven adventure game about missing teens reaching the border at Road 96. You'll play as several characters traveling through a country that is ruled by dictatorship during an election period. But the really cool part about this game is that no playthrough will ever be the same. Everyone will have a completely unique experience, and I love that part about it. It's because the game places levels or scenes in different orders which can completely change your perception of the story. With the game only taking around 8 hours and having a few easy to find collectibles, this will make an easy platinum to add to your collection. Do make sure to watch out for a few of those missable trophies. Although easy to follow and do, it's something to keep in mind, but shouldn't hinder you too much in this emotional choice-driven game. And after reaching the border at Road 96, you can go on a short hike. A Short Hike is a super cute game where you play as a little bird named Claire. This 4-hour journey to the Platinum Trophy is riddled with collectibles and quests to find to increase your abilities. The abilities will allow you to travel further through the map and up the mountain. Make sure you also start this game sometime in the afternoon, as one of the trophies requires you to do something at exactly 5 PM. There's also a few mini games scattered throughout as well, but the joy for me came from just how relaxing this game was. You can simply just sit back and enjoy this chosen pixelated beautifulness of this game. And when you're done with your short hike, maybe it's time to relax even further by unpacking everything in your house. Because unpacking for me was yet another wonderful experience. It was just such a chill and relaxing experience to simply unpack things. I know that this wasn't the same for everyone, as some hated the slow gameplay, but for me and many others it was just perfect. For this platinum, all that needs to be done is completing the story and do a couple of miscellaneous trophies which aren't too difficult. The story takes you through several rooms throughout your life where the story pieces everything together. It's a great 4-hour experience where you can just get sucked into. I wasn't sure what to expect when I first booted this game up for my Alphabet Platinum Challenge, but this game very pleasantly surprised me, and it's now up there with my personal favorites. Next up, we have a very different vibe with Death's Door. This is definitely a bit more challenging than the previous games mentioned, however it's only a 4 out of 10 in difficulty and should take you around 15 hours to platinum. Because Death's Door takes you through the story where you have to collect souls for the bureaucratic company you work for. The combat in this game is fairly straightforward, with the regular weapons and spells or abilities to fight off the enemies and bosses you encounter. It will require you to step up your game, and especially for one of the trophies that requires you to beat the game with an umbrella, which is the weakest weapon in the game. However, you can choose to do that in either 1 or 2 playthroughs, which is entirely up to you. Keep the seeds and pot collectibles in the back of your head to save as much time as possible at the end, and although this game can be a challenge at times, it's yet another fun game that I had a blast with. Next up, we have a game called Toem, a photography adventure where you have to take pictures of everyone and everything. Your goal is once again to reach the top of the mountain, but to get there you will have to pass through multiple regions which only unlock after finding the right picture. The platinum will require you to complete the story, find all the collectibles and clothing items, and take all of the right pictures with many beautiful people around the world. It's a really clever gameplay element that will have you find the right angle or a specific item that you need to complete this quest, which I may have struggled with at times. If you're enjoying your time, you can even extend it by a few hours if you want to go for the DLC and the 100%, which should only take a few hours to complete. It's just yet another super simple and easy to follow game, which for me makes a great platinum trophy to add to the collection. If you're enjoying exploring islands full of mystery, another great game is Chia. This super cute game is inspired by New Caledonia and represents many cultural elements related to that area. The game is a little darker than what the art style may make it seem, where you are tasked with rescuing your kidnapped father from the bad guys. However, to rescue your father, you have the ability to turn into animals in order to travel across the map and find the many collectibles in this game. Because yes, there are a lot of them, so definitely start working on those early on, as it did make it a little tedious and grindy for me. Therefore, this is one of the longer games on this list with around 20 hours. There's also challenges and races to complete, but again, those are very forgiving in their requirements. It's really just another cute and pretty game that is made with love from the devs. However, if you can't commit to the 20 hours you have to spend on Chia, then you might be looking for a very short game, and that might be What Remains of Edith Finch. This super short but beautiful game is a must play. What may seem as a simple game actually has a really deep story connected to it with unique elements and little mini games scattered throughout. Most trophies will unlock naturally by progressing through the story, whilst a handful will require you to complete specific tasks such as replaying a chapter again. It really is a one-of-a-kind game that is very unique in many elements. It doesn't get boring at all and is so worth the 2-hour story to get the platinum. Do keep in mind, however, that only the PS5 version has a platinum trophy. The PS4 version doesn't. It still has trophies, but no platinum. However, that shouldn't keep you away from this phenomenal emotional game anyway, as it's worth even experiencing without a platinum trophy. If you want something closer to a puzzle game, then look at Maquette. This mindfuck of a game was a trip, to be honest with you. I really had to think during this game, as this game is basically one giant puzzle. Alternating between the small, normal and big world is something that gets your brain going. It will probably take you a little longer than what the guide says, as it did for me, but that's just because I suck at puzzle games. But it's not too long of a game either way, as there's only a few trophies you need to unlock during specific chapters, and a few challenging ones are needed in the form of speedrun trophies. However, these aren't too difficult, as you can just skip cutscenes and run to the objective, which should give you plenty of time. It really is a great game to get your brain going and really think about your every next move. Next up is a game that is up there with the best experiences I have ever had in gaming, and that's Stray. Like, it's seriously so good, you just have to experience it yourself. This game will have you playing as a cat in a dystopian future city. It has great world building and atmosphere with some really straightforward trophies. Some of those are really easy, like meowing or jumping several hundred times, or even just sleeping for a whole hour, whilst others are more challenging, such as avoiding enemies or doing a complete game speedrun, which may seem daunting at first, but can be obtained with just a little bit of effort. Of course, there's also collectibles to find, but with chapter select, nothing is missable, which is just perfect. It's been talked about enough, so I'm sure you already know how good this game is by now, so please just play this game. It is great. But before we move on to a game that I low-key think is better than Stray and probably my favorite indie game of all time, let's briefly go over a few other games that just didn't make the list. First up is Undertale. A game that I have to say I personally wasn't a big fan of, but many people are obsessed with it. It is super simple to platinum and only has a few things to watch out for, because in this 8-bit game you will need to collect a few G's and keep a donation trophy in mind. But the reason it's so easy to platinum is because you don't even need to finish the game. Like, for real, you only need to play about 60% of the way through the game, which will allow you to pop the platinum trophy. So if you're interested in this game or just looking for a quick and easy platinum, this is one to check out. Another really easy game is The Deadly Tower of Monsters. This take on a 1970s space movie is both fun and funny. You play with 3 characters with different abilities, making your way up the tower. I started this one day but returned to it years later to platinum it and was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. It's nothing serious, the trophies are easy, it's funny and can be platinumed in about 7 hours. Although it might not be as popular as many other games on this list, I personally think it's still really worth your time. Another game I checked out during my alphabet challenge was Endling, and that story is simply beautiful. Playing as a mother with 4 cubs to take care of, this story will show you how mercilessly the world can be. Having to manage food and shelter whilst exploring the dangerous world is an emotional task. You'll have to watch out for the missable trophies, which I personally struggled with quite a bit, but only due to my own mistakes. That can make this either 1 or 2 playthroughs, or 3 in my case, depending on if you go in blind the first time. Just be sure to have some tissues ready to wipe away those tears of sadness at the end of the story. And if you want to keep playing as an animal, but this time somewhere higher up the food chain, then check out Man-Eater. Man-Eater lets you unleash your jaws to munch on some unexpected humans and fish, starting off as a small baby shark, slowly growing into one of the fiercest sharks of the waters. It basically only requires you to finish the story and each region with the collectibles. Very simple, very fun, only takes around 12 hours to platinum, which can be extended by about 5 hours if you choose the DLC for the 100%, which I personally still need to go back for. And lastly, before talking about my favorite indie game, I still have to mention The Lost Campfire. Another beautiful story where you have to light the embers in the darkness. It's got a similar feel to Death's Door, but without the combat elements. Here you also have to find souls around the world and find their purpose, each time unlocking new areas to progress further. This is very much a puzzle game at most times and should only take you around 8 hours to platinum. I'd say it's the least known game on this list, but it very much still deserves more popularity. But finally, my favorite indie game has got to be Tunic. I only recently platinumed this game, but I fell in love instantly. This game is really something, and that's because the entire game is a huge puzzle. And I don't just mean elements or levels, no, the entire game. Tunic doesn't tell you anything about the game mechanics or world. The unknown language will provide you information that you can't understand, and it's still in your best interest to figure that out. The great thing is that it keeps you so intrigued about the whole gameplay and story that you just want to keep finding more information and progressing further. The combat can be a challenge at times, especially with some of those bosses, but if you do struggle, there is a way to turn off all damage if you feel like a cheesy noob. There's also a few missable trophies to keep in the back of your head, but nothing too difficult. And one trophy that will require 50 minutes of playing into a second playthrough. But seriously, I cannot recommend this game enough. The game is so much fun to figure out and provides plenty of aha moments. And if you're a physical collector like me, pick up the physical edition, which will enhance the experience so much more because of the puzzle solving. Especially near the end. I can't spoil it, but it is so worth your time. There's so much more to this game. I love it to bits. I love this game. Let me know what other indie games deserve to be on this list under the like button below. But for now, that's it. See ya!